Hello there, this is Business Point on Global Television in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. The program focuses on business and economic policies, market trend, small and medium-scale businesses, investment, sector critical analysis, and latest events and developments that are shaping the economic landscape of Nigeria and beyond. I am Kike Lomo Okeri, your host. On today's edition on the show, our conversation takes a look at the need for inclusive fuel subsidy palliative for all Nigerians and not just civil servants who are promised 35,000 naira. The federal government had already announced 35,000 naira salary allowance for civil servants and 25,000 naira each for 15 million households. The 35,000 naira is monthly for 6 months with effect from September 2023. The federal government says it will commence payment of 75,000 naira to 15 million households and 25,000 naira per month. For 3 months period from October to December 2023, we have seen the government embark on several initiatives to cushion the effect of the increase in the fuel price. But the question is, how many percent of Nigeria are civil servants? What of those in the private sector? Will the palliative really reach the target people? Are they truly inclusive? Do they address the basic need of the people? These and some of the issues we will be exploring on today's show. Joining us in the studio is our esteemed guest, Idakolo Gabriel, MD, CEO, SD&D Capital Management Limited, who will be sharing his insights on how best to channel the palliative for Nigeria. As usual, on this program, let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, the program is Business Point. In my introduction, I said, today's episode is dedicated to discussing the need for an inclusive fuel subsidy palliative for all Nigerians and not just the civil servants who are promised 35,000 naira monthly for 6 months with effect from September 2023. What's the percentage of civil servants in Nigeria? Who takes care of those in the private sector? They all go to the same markets, but better ways can the palliative cushion the effect of fuel subsidy removal for all Nigerians. Joining us on this episode is our esteemed guest, Idakolo Gabriel, MD, CEO, SD&D Capital Management Limited, who will be sharing his insights on how best to channel the palliative for all Nigerians. We are glad to have you on the station, sir.
Thank you for having me.
So let's set the ball rolling. The government introduced initiative aimed at cushioning the effect of the high fuel price. It is announced that the 35,000 naira salary allowance for civil servants, 25,000 naira each for the period of for 15 million households. The thing is, the federal government would have commenced the payment, and what is the initiative sufficient? How do we address the need for the people, especially those vulnerable ones?
Actually, I believe that the initiative in the face of the problem that we have presently in Nigeria might not be sufficient enough to address the major problems that we have as regards poverty in Nigeria. We know that all these measures are aimed at alleviating poverty that has increased as occasioned by the fuel subsidy removal and other factors. If we are looking at the wage award that the federal government has given the federal government workers and simultaneously encouraging the states to do the same, you will discover that their percentage, just like you said earlier, is negligible compared to Nigeria's population. Looking at a population of between 200 to 250, for example, and looking at the 15 million households and the federal government workers, probably, if we take statistics, it might not be more than 20% of the population. And we have a World Bank statistics that says that between 60 to 70% of Nigerians are in extreme poverty. So So when we are looking at extreme poverty, we are talking of those that are actually supposed to be the beneficiary of any palliative program of the government. So we are looking at people of between 140 to 160 million. So if we have 15 million households, if we make our additions and subtractions, the 15 million household could cumulate to probably 50 to 60 million people, combined with the federal government workers and states. All the same, it is still not up to what we're expecting. So talking about how effective it could be, I believe that the government has not actually gotten its plan right, in the sense that before this can be adequately implemented, we have to have sufficient data of the people that are supposed to be beneficiaries. And this is a deficiency that has been known over time. It's also heartwarming to know that this present administration also knows that the safety, the register on ground that the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs was using previously is flawed. And it is very certain that if nothing is done about it, it will just be political beneficiaries that will be getting these palliatives from government. So I believe that the federal government should work critically with statistics and visitation of key areas where the downtrodden in the country are. The present Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, I'm impressed that in the past 2 weeks or so, I saw a clip of her in Lagos going to the riverine areas, trying to capture the actual people that needs palliative. So if that is replicated across the states, and this register is updated and a clean copy is provided, with the assistance of monitors like the non-governmental organizations, to ensure that the people that are actual beneficiaries are the ones receiving it, then we can be saying to the fact that we are getting closer to actually meeting the needs, or the palliative trickling down to those that will need it. We also discovered that palliatives that have been provided previously by the previous government and even this present government earlier in the year have not actually reached the people. You discover that you see trucks of rice, and when you get to particular settlements, you see people getting 1 mudu of rice, some getting lower than that for a whole street. So you discover and you wonder how many hours that is going to last the people, talk less of days or months. So when we are talking of palliatives, palliatives should be seen to be impactful and not just for ceremony. Because the palliative that this present government has provided, if adequately channeled, could actually touch the people to a large extent. The previous palliative measures has not touched the people, because we discover that those that have even received anything at all receive something that is inadequate, that cannot even help the matter. So we need statistics, we need data, and we need to actually verify this data by making sure that government officials that have been saddled with this responsibility actually are doing their jobs and they are being monitored.
Could you please expatiate on the need for an inclusive fuel subsidy palliative that covers all Nigeria, and how it can be administered?
Yes. When we are talking of inclusive fuel subsidy that covers all Nigerians, that means we are targeting all Nigerians that have one form of transportation or the other to get to wherever they are going. I'm glad that the government is looking at compressed natural gas buses to ensure that it is rolled out in large quantities for states and for the federal government to be able to transport people all around. I'm also happy that there will be conversion kits for those that will be interested in ensuring that they convert their petrol engines to gas engines at a subsidized cost by the government. This measure, if it's quickly implemented, could also help to actually alleviate the problems of subsidy removal for everyone that is into transportation. The second aspect of it is that the government with the states, the federal government with the states, need to really take charge of the responsibility of ensuring that transportation problems is reduced in this country. Before the advent of the constant rise in petroleum prices, the government needs to put adequate measures on ground to ensure that federal government run transit and state government run transit are working optimally. Look at the Lagos State lag bus, for example. There was a time when the issue of palliative started. The Lagos State government added the lag bus as part of the palliative by ensuring that at a point they were giving, they were transporting people for free. At a point, at a reduced cost of 50%. These are measures that should translate to all the states and the federal government to ensure that state-run transport systems are for the people and are adequately subsidized or are adequately monetized for the people's benefit. I am not going to say that the government should force private-run transport vehicle transport companies to follow suit. But when we talk about the issue of patriotism, we should be able to see how even the private companies that runs transportation in Nigeria can come together and bring out a form of palliative that will not hurt their business but will help the people on the long run. So when we are talking of all-inclusive palliative as regards fuel subsidy removal, the government alternative of getting us cheaper fuel through the CNG must be implemented as soon as possible, and if possible encourage people also to look at electric vehicles so that we can reduce the dependence on petrol engines for our transportation needs.
Okay, so when you talk about electric vehicles, how best do you think the federal government can put in place proper infrastructure to ensure that this electric vehicle really works in Nigeria? Because as it is now, we are having epileptic power supply. So what measures do you think the government can put in place to ensure that everything works well for Nigerians?
The electric vehicle that we are talking about is the way forward. Many advanced societies have started using it. And in fact, in Europe and America, for example, a good portion of their vehicles have been electric vehicles. The government knows what to do. When I mean the government knows what to do is that we need vending channels, just like the fuel stations, to ensure that people that have electric vehicles will be able to plug and charge their vehicles at each designated point, which the government can provide in conjunction with the private sector at a fee. Two, the government of Nigeria should see this as another opportunity for investors to come in. I know some vehicle manufacturing companies in Nigeria, like Innocent, have started producing electric vehicles, but we can get more people to produce. Nigeria is a very viable market because of our numbers and because we still have people that can afford it, that this kind of vehicle should be produced in Nigeria. And apart from it, one major component of an electric vehicle is the battery itself. We should have companies investing in manufacturing of electric vehicle batteries, which is done elsewhere. They can bring, the government can encourage investors to come into this country to manufacture the batteries, because that's a major component that is being used, and ensure that the stations for charging these vehicles are also all over the country. The major catch for us as a country is that we need to reduce reliance on petrol engines. That is the way forward for this country. Through the compressed natural gas engine is a good idea, because we heard that between 100 and 200 you can be able to get a liter of it, which is good compared to fuel now that is 600, 700. And the electric engines will be cheaper, far cheaper than that, because the cost to charge it at a period will also be reduced. So the government should look at specific alternatives and make cogent plans to ensure that it is implemented. It's enough to put the policies on ground, but what of implementation?
We'll take a little short break now. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back. We've been speaking with Idakolo Gabriel Bolade, MD, CEO and SD&D Capital Market. We've been speaking of subsidy palliative inclusiveness of the vulnerables. Sir, how do you think the CSOs can help in ensuring that this distribution process gets to the grassroots, and as well as is free from corruption?
Yes, good enough. Nigeria has a large number of civil society organizations that are interested or that are seen to be interested in the welfare and poverty alleviation of Nigerians. And if you check, you will see that some of them even have adequate statistics of the very poor people that we have in this country, because they have taken it upon themselves to go to the grassroots, to gather information, to gather data, to be able to educate the government, and to be able to put the government on the spot on what needs to be done that has not been done. So I believe that the role of the civil society organization is very key in ensuring the transparency in palliative distribution, ensuring that the palliatives also get to the needed people. We have seen situations before in this country, in no distant future, about 3-4 years ago, that we were talking about COVID palliatives that ended up in the houses of House of Rep members, party chieftains, and the senators. And some of them, when they were queried, said they were going to use it to do their party announcement and stuff like that. You know, converting it to personal use. So the CSOs will be very instrumental in ensuring that this palliative actually go to those that need it. And how can this be done? The government, if actually wants to be transparent, if the government wants to be transparent, need to engage these civil society organizations in all the states of the Federation and ensure that as these palliatives are being distributed, they are carried along. It's just like when we are talking of election, INEC registers observers, and the observers go to the various places where elections are going to take place. They take their notes, they publish their what they have seen and stuff like that. This is what is expected of the CSOs as well. When they partner with the government, if the government partners with them, and in the process of distribution of these palliatives, they take notes, they send reports, and everybody knows what has happened. And also the government can as well use that as a yardstick to also check itself to know whether they are doing well or not. So the role of the civil societies organizations in Nigeria, if given the opportunity to monitor and to see what the government is doing as regards palliative distribution, will go a long way. And it will also instill confidence in the government plan, because the people, for now, we can't say that they actually trust the government officials sharing this palliative.
So what social safety nets do you think can be used for this program?
Actually, the good thing is that we have the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Social Welfare, which is saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that Nigerians are lifted out of poverty. The new minister so far is responsive and is active and up and running. And the various initiatives that has been proposed, even with the issue of extending the palliative to pensioners, is a good one. And what the government needs to do is to segment the people. We know the people that with 50,000 they will be able to stand on their own and do something. We know others that with 500,000 will be able to do better, and so on. So the government should segment the people, get the target people, and address them on the basis of need. We also have people that are in the marketplaces that are already selling. All they need is capacity building to improve what they have already on ground. The government should also look at, like the previous one of trader money, the government should repackage it and do it well in a way that somebody that is selling maybe the whole capital the fellow has is 50,000 but wants to scale up, it can be a percentage can be added to it to ensure that it scales up to maybe 100 or 150 and they're able to do well. So the palliative that we want as a country should not be a lumped palliative that just addresses one sector that may not be effective. You cannot give somebody 50,000 that actually does not need 50,000. So you should be able to segment each of the category of people and be able to attend to their needs so that it can be effective on the long run.
All right, so on a final note, what innovation can be adopted to channel this palliative properly?
Yes. One thing that I feel that the government should do is that the government should use social media Government needs to use social media to a large extent. Even the poorest of the poor have one form or the other. And some of them also have phones that can reach out to even do WhatsApp or the other address. When we have social media, we can use it to pass effective information across. And this model of using social media will be able to gather the people, will be able to track record, will be able to state what the government is doing. Oh, the ministry can say, oh, we are going to be at so and so place this week between the period of this and this. Everybody that has this and that it falls into this and this category can come so that we can verify and register. This information needs to get to everyone. So the government needs to be innovative to ensure that the proper use of social media to be able to get people, to be able to register people, to be able to convey ideas on how to actually help the country. Nigeria is a growing population. And when you are dealing with a growing population, you need to anticipate needs. That is what this government needs to do. We need to anticipate needs. We know that in the next 5 years, our youthful population will grow more than what it is presently. So what are the measures we are putting in place to ensure that we are able to meet those needs? So those are the issues that needs to be looked into. The government needs to be innovative. The government needs to use a communication channel that can reach out to everyone so as to be able to get the information across and to be able to implement its policy seamlessly. Very important.
Thank you, Mr. Idakolo Gabriel Bolade, MD, CEO, SD and Capital Markets. Thank you for joining us on this program. Moving on to the government, Nigerians have continuously criticized the government for not doing enough to address the economic challenges that the country is facing. What is your view on an issue on this, and what measures can be done to adopt to fix this ailing economy? On this note, we are ending this discussion. Join us same time on this same station. I am your host, Kike Lomo Okeri. Good day.